Namaste. I hope you're all doing good. Hope you're all doing really good. I hope you're keeping that high vibration, that high frequency, no matter what life's thrown at you. Right. So yeah, I've had a few days of flaring. I'm just doing these videos as and when I can in the little opportunity, the little windows of opportunity that I get in between flares. And this is one of those golden opportunities. I was flaring all the way up until midnight, and then it eased off for 3 hours, and then I got woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning with flares. And yeah, so quite a tough night. But I know there's other families on here, on this channel, subscribers and their families, who either know somebody with CRPS or actually have CRPS type 1. I don't know if any of you have type 2, but I know some of you have type 1, and that's bad enough, right? That's 42 out of 50 on the pain score, which is above amputation. It's 42 out of 50 is the same as amputation without any anaesthetic. So that's high enough for anybody. So this video is going to be kind of like a response to the last video that I put out, which might have confused some of you. It even confused me a little bit, about absolute truth and relative truth, about who you are, what you are. Okay, so when the channeling was speaking of you are, first of all, it started off the relative truth, right? Okay, so relative truth, I've been shown to explain to you. Relative truth is when you are describing anything within physical manifestation, which science is now proving that nothing here is really physical. Nothing here is really solid. In fact, in many ways, nothing is really here in any solid form whatsoever. Okay, so now we know that by science. We know that everything's 99.9999, right, percent no thing. But yet we also know that there's the unified field, the quantum field. And we know that this unified field is energy, right? So ultimately, it's not that everything is nothing, as in nothing at all. Everything is in fact energy. Energy vibrating at different frequencies, different levels of vibration. So, what was I going with this? Yeah, so relative truth would be describing elements of this physical manifestation, this physical illusion that we all reside in. So anything physical, anything that is physically focused. Don't forget there is a physical aspect and a metaphysical aspect to everything. And the nothing, the vacuum of space, we now know is filled with energy. Some call it dark energy. There's all different names being thrown around. Everybody's trying to describe the ineffable, and all these scientists and theorists and physicists are trying to find a toe theory of everything. That's a toe. So there are big toes and little toes. There are grand toes and there are subtle toes. The grand theories of everything claim to describe everything physical and metaphysical. Good luck with that one, because you're going to have to invent a whole new vocabulary of words, because there ain't any words to describe this. So relative truth is anything that would be described with a small toe, a little toe, not a toe as in on your feet. Theory of everything. So how we describe, using physics, how we describe atomic structures, going up to molecules, going up to even subatomic particles. Everything from the subatomic particles up to planets, stars, solar systems, galaxies. That's all within the physical manifestation, right? So that's a relative truth because it's relative to the observer. Who is the observer? Consciousness. What is consciousness? There's big debates going on right now about what is consciousness. There's all the materialists who would postulate that the mind, the human mind, creates consciousness. That would mean that your human mind, your human brain, is creating everything that you see around you, or the appearance, the perception of everything that you see all around you. But then there is the idealists. I don't like to label myself because I'm not really any of these things, but if I had to label myself, I would call myself an extreme idealist. Idealism is that all is mind. Everything is a mental thought from the one universal mind. I call this, my spirit guides call this the divine mind, or they usually call it source. S-O-U-R. Dyslexic, terrible at spelling. Source, not as in the source, source consciousness. Okay, so whenever I've channeled your source self, whenever we say your source self would be the highest or the broadest. Nothing's really higher or lower. The broadest, most expansive aspect of your metaphysical self. That will be your absolute true self. So absolute truth is the metaphysical nature of all that is. The metaphysical nature of all that there is within manifest creation and beyond. Beyond would be in the non-physical realms that we describe with using the word dimensions. But I've been shown even that's not accurate. I've been shown there's only one thing happening. But that one field, let's call it field, right? That one field of everythingness, of beingness. That one field is what you would call the universal mind. The first Hermetic principle is that all is mind. All is a mental thought or a mental projection. In other words, everything that we think is a physical thing, like these physical bodies, is ultimately a thought, a mental thought in the mind of universal consciousness, universal mind, consciousness at large, absolute consciousness. There's so many different names for this. Some people call it God, right? So I hope that kind of clarifies things, because I had to go into it. I had lots of flares, and then I had to go into a channeling session just on my own. I had to go, I call it inner contemplation, where I go deep and I connect to my higher self, which is really my broader self, in the non-physical realms, to download this, because even I was kind of a bit puzzled by this. So I hope that makes more sense. I'm going to leave it there because I'm going to have to put this phone down because I've been getting these flares, these CRPS flares in my hands, and it's difficult to hold things sometimes. Okay, I hope that clarifies relative truth and absolute truth. Okay, to all you who have CRPS out there, or forget CRPS, anything that's causing you physical pain in any way, or even emotional or psychological pain, it's all the same. It's all a kind of pain. It's a kind of suffering, right? But suffering is only suffering if you perceive it to be suffering. Suffering is a relative term for a relative truth. Your absolute truth, your absolute true divine self, never could suffer, even if it tried. I'm going to leave you on that note. Okay. One love. Namaste.